I wish I could claim that I had no idea what was happening, that it was all some terrible misunderstanding, that someone deceived me, manipulated me, or tricked me. But the reality is far less complicated. I was aware of what was going on, and I chose to ignore it. Deep down, I preferred believing in a fantasy rather than facing the uncomfortable truth. My husband Daniel and I had been together for 9 years when everything finally collapsed. We weren't the kind of couple who constantly argued or avoided each other. In fact, to most people, we probably seemed like a solid, dependable pair. Daniel was steady and dependable. He worked in finance, woke up early every morning, and lived his life with careful routines and structured plans. But after nearly a decade together, something inside me started to shift. My days began to feel repetitive, like I was stuck in a cycle that never changed. The same house, the same discussions, the same quiet weekends. Nothing about my life felt exciting anymore. That was when Ryan entered the picture. Ryan worked for a consulting company that had recently begun partnering with the firm where I was employed. He carried himself with a confidence that Daniel never really had. He was the type of person who could make people laugh effortlessly and seemed comfortable no matter where he was. The first time we spoke was during a company happy hour event. I can still remember his opening line clearly. "You look like the only interesting person in this room." It was honestly a cheesy line, but it worked perfectly. In that moment, after years of feeling unnoticed, someone was suddenly paying attention to me. Not just casually looking my way, but really seeing me. At first, everything seemed innocent. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Our messages started with occasional conversations about work projects. Then we began, talking about random topics. Before long, we were discussing everything. The chats became longer, more personal. Eventually, they turned flirtatious. Then Ryan told me something that should have immediately made me step back. He mentioned that he was married. The way he said it made it sound almost insignificant. They're basically just roommates now. He explained one night while we were texting. He added that he and his wife were only still living together because of the house and their children. I had heard that explanation before. Almost everyone has. But when you desperately want something, you start accepting the explanations that make it easier to justify your choices. So I convinced myself the situation was complicated. I told myself his marriage was already emotionally over. I convinced myself I wasn't really doing anything wrong. That lie slowly became the foundation for everything that followed. The first time we met outside of work, it was just coffee. After that, it was dinner, then drinks. Within a month, the boundary between harmless flirting and outright cheating had completely vanished. Ryan brought excitement back into my life in a way I hadn't felt in years. He would send long messages late at night, telling me how beautiful I was and how different I was from his wife. He made big promises. "I'm going to leave eventually," he told me more than once. "We're already drifting apart anyway." I believed him, or maybe I simply wanted to believe him. Not long after that, my relationship with Daniel began falling apart quickly. He noticed the change almost immediately. He asked if something was wrong. He wondered if work was stressing me out or if something was bothering me. Instead of telling him the truth, I became distant and defensive. I began staying late at work more often. I started going out with coworkers more frequently. I guarded my phone like it contained classified information. Looking back now, I wasn't even doing a great job of hiding it. A part of me had already checked out of the marriage emotionally. After 6 months of the affair, Daniel confronted me. I remember that night with painful clarity. He was standing in the kitchen, holding my phone in his hand. "I saw the messages," he said quietly. For a moment, it felt like time had completely stopped. But instead of apologizing or trying to repair the damage, I did something worse. I leaned into the truth. "I'm in love with someone else." Those words shattered him instantly. I could see it written across his face. But by then, I had convinced myself that leaving was the right thing to do. Ryan had promised me a future, a more exciting life, something better than what I already had. So I filed for divorce. Daniel didn't fight me. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He didn't try to stop me. He simply signed the papers. 4 months later, the divorce became official. That was when everything started falling apart. Because once I was free, Ryan suddenly wasn't. At first, he had explanations. Things are complicated right now. My wife is dealing with a lot. The kids need stability. Every week there was another reason why he couldn't leave yet. Months passed. Then almost a year. Ryan continued repeating the same promise. Soon. Just a little longer. But nothing in his life ever actually changed. He still went home to his wife every evening. He still went on family vacations. He continued posting photos online showing their perfect-looking life. Eventually, I started asking questions that were harder for him to dodge, and that's when the truth finally surfaced. Ryan had never planned to leave his wife. Not even once. I was never part of his future. I was simply an escape, a temporary thrill he could turn to whenever his real life felt dull. In a strange way, he had been the same thing for me. The difference was that he had never risked anything meaningful. I had. I lost my marriage, my home, my stability, everything. Meanwhile, the man I had sacrificed it all for simply returned to the life he had always intended to keep. After that conversation, we stopped speaking. There wasn't some dramatic final confrontation. It just ended with silence. About a year later, I unexpectedly ran into Daniel at a grocery store. He looked different, happier, more relaxed. We talked for a few minutes. During our conversation, he mentioned that he had started seeing someone new, a woman he had met through mutual friends. According to him, she was someone who genuinely wanted to be with him. I congratulated him. Then I returned to my quiet apartment and, for the first time since everything had happened, I allowed myself to admit the truth. I hadn't left my marriage because of love. I had left it chasing a fantasy, and by the time that fantasy finally disappeared, the life I had destroyed was already gone.